Alright guys, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2 because we just got a new update that, depending on how you look at it, could either be really exciting or a quiet reminder that we're in this for the long haul. And honestly, this update flew under the radar for a lot of people. It didn't come from a flashy trailer, it didn't come from a cryptic teaser, it came from Projekt Red's latest Q3 earnings call. And if you've been following the industry long enough, you already know. Earnings calls accidentally spill more truth than any cinematic reveal ever does. So today we're breaking down what CDPR just confirmed, what it really means for Cyberpunk 2's release window, how far along the project actually is, and why fans might want to stay cautiously optimistic. Emphasis on cautiously. Let's dive into what's shaping up to be the next massive sci-fi world from CD Projekt. CDPR confirmed they're planning to grow the Cyberpunk 2 development team to about 300 people by 2027. Right now, they're sitting at around 135 developers spread across Boston, Vancouver, and Warsaw. That means they're aiming to more than double the team over the next 2 years. And if you followed game development before, you know this tells us something important. Cyberpunk 2 is still in its early stages. Not pre-announcement early, not sketches on a napkin early, but early enough that massive hiring is still needed before the project can fully ramp up. This fits CDPR's usual pattern. Cyberpunk 2077 didn't reach its full production strength until late into development. With Orion, Cyberpunk 2, they're pacing themselves more carefully. The sequel was first announced back in 2022 under the codename Projekt Orion, and at the time, it was basically CDPR saying, yes, we're making a sequel, don't worry. What we're seeing now is the team building phase, which is often where the identity of a game really starts to form. One of the most interesting parts of CDPR's update came from their joint CEO Mikhail Novakovsky. He revealed that the Boston studio, established just 2 years ago, now has about 80 developers, and more than 90% of them are senior-level staff. That's rare. Most studios build their team starting with mid-level and junior developers. CDPR basically built an elite leadership team first, then began adding the next layers afterward. Novakovsky said the Boston studio has finished its leadership structure, and the next step is hiring mid-entry positions for pre-production and early development. He also said they plan to double the size of the Boston team in the next 2 years. And here's the bigger news. They want to shift the workload so that Boston handles about 50% of Cyberpunk 2's development. That's a massive shift. In a way, it feels like CDPR is setting up Boston to become the main home for the Cyberpunk franchise moving forward. You could see this as a sign of confidence or simply as a lesson learned from past struggles. Cyberpunk 2077's launch problems were partially because the workload was stretched in ways that weren't sustainable. Building a stable, experienced team early is CDPR's attempt to prevent any repeat of that chaos. But it also means that Cyberpunk 2's development needs more time before it reaches full power. A lot of fans want to know when the game is coming out, and while CDPR didn't give an official release window, the hiring plans actually tell us quite a lot. If the team won't even reach full size until 2027, then realistically the earliest we could see the game is 2028. But more realistically, it's probably going to be 2030. Games of this scale usually need 3 to 4 years of full production, and that full production doesn't really begin until the team is complete. If CDPR hits that 300 dev mark in 2027, the sequel is still multiple years away. So yeah, fans waiting for Cyberpunk 2 might need patience, but honestly, this slow, methodical approach is probably the responsible move for the studio. Rushing another massive open-world RPG would be a disaster for them. They know how much is riding on the sequel. Now let's talk about why the Boston studio is such a game changer. Novakovsky admitted that bringing Boston into the fold added geographical and operational complexity, which is a polite way of saying that managing 3 studios across different time zones is hard. But he also said it brought multi-layered experience and skills, meaning CDPR staffed the studio with a ton of high-level talent who bring a new perspective to the Cyberpunk franchise. This also happens to be the same studio helping CDPR achieve something they've never really done before: develop 2 AAA titles at the same time. That level of ambition comes with risks, and it's fair for fans to wonder whether stretching across multiple teams could slow things down. But if CDPR balances it well, Cyberpunk 2 might benefit from a more diverse and globally influenced creative direction than the first game had. Now, let's get into something a bit juicier: the story. Official plot details are locked behind corporate walls right now, but we do have one major hint. Mike Pondsmith, the creator of the original Cyberpunk tabletop universe, did an interview where he confirmed that the sequel will introduce a second major city. He described it as a place that would feel like Chicago gone wrong. That's a heavy description, especially considering Chicago in the Cyberpunk universe has always been associated with disaster and corruption. If CDPR is following that concept, then this second city might be more chaotic, broken, and unpredictable than Night City. Imagine a place where abandoned megastructures are everywhere, gangs and corporations carve out their own territories, and the technology feels more unstable and experimental. That kind of setting could push the sequel into thematic territory the first game never fully explored. Then there's another interesting detail from a report earlier this year. According to Video Games Chronicle, Projekt Red wants Cyberpunk 2 to have the most realistic and reactive crowd system in any game to date. That's a bold claim. Crowd AI has always been one of gaming's most technically demanding systems, and let's be honest, the first Cyberpunk had some pretty rough crowd behavior at launch. NPCs disappearing, freezing, repeating the same animations, it became a meme for months. So the idea of CDPR aiming for the best crowd system ever is ambitious, maybe even a little risky. Fans are still going to remember what happened last time. But if the team can actually pull it off, the sequel could feel dramatically more alive. Imagine crowds that behave dynamically, respond to danger realistically, interact with each other in believable ways, or even initiate emergent events around you. If this works, Night City, or whatever cities show up, could feel truly alive. One more major detail surfaced through a job listing for a lead network engineer. Cyberpunk 2 is expected to have multiplayer. CD Projekt originally planned multiplayer for Cyberpunk 2077, but scrapped it after the game's launch problems. It just wasn't feasible at the time. But for the sequel, multiplayer appears to be part of the foundation instead of an afterthought. What form could it take? That's still unknown. But possibilities include co-op missions, social hubs, competitive modes, or even shared world elements similar to what we see in GTA Online or Destiny. Whether the multiplayer will be optional or deeply integrated into the experience remains to be seen. And of course, the big concern is whether CDPR can pull this off without compromising the single-player story. It's a delicate balance. All of these updates, team expansion, structured development, the addition of new studios, the hints about world building, and the tech ambitions paint a clear picture of what Cyberpunk 2 is becoming. It's a long-term project. It's not something CDPR is rushing out to capitalize on the success of Cyberpunk 2077's resurgence. It's meant to be something bigger, more refined, and more technically advanced. But ambition can be a double-edged sword. Fans are cautiously hopeful, but they're also watching closely to see whether CDPR has truly learned from the past. Some might wonder whether expanding teams too quickly could cause delays. Others might question whether the three-studio model will improve development or complicate it. And of course, there's the huge question of trust. After everything that happened with Cyberpunk's launch, some fans are understandably skeptical. Still, with the lessons learned, the time being taken, and the talent being brought on board, Cyberpunk 2 has the potential to be something truly next generation. But now I want to turn it over to you. Do you think CD Projekt Red can deliver a polished sequel after everything that happened with the first game? Would you prefer Cyberpunk 2 to focus on a massive open world or something tighter and more story-driven? And how do you feel about multiplayer being included this time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious where the community stands. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Sentry for more updates.